Hi everyone, Chris Carlton here. Another interview with Amanda Hackney from Penn State. She studied abroad in Dublin, Ireland. She actually graduated and she's working now, and I just kind of realized something. I've talked to a few people that have graduated now, and you don't really see a lot of people who studied abroad that did it and now don't have a job or aren't in graduate school or doing something they want to do. And I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a correlation there. But Amanda does a great job of explaining her trip in Dublin. Listen up, it's a great interview. All right, thanks. The three biggest reasons only 10% of students study abroad: they're afraid of being homesick, they don't think it's safe, and the number one reason people don't study abroad is cost. We're here to dispel all that, find out exactly how that 10% crafted their study abroad journey and how you can too. I'm Chris Carlton, and this is the Study Abroadcast. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Study Abroadcast. This is Chris Carlton here with Amanda Hackney. Amanda, thank you very much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so, yeah, you're welcome. Happy to have you here. So I actually came across Amanda's blog. She studied abroad in Dublin, and it was probably one of the best. If you're thinking about going to Dublin, I'll definitely put the link in the notes to her blog about it. But so I reached out to her to see if she'd be on the show, and she was kind enough to. So here she is. So without further ado, getting into it, Amanda, tell me maybe about your experience before you left. So kind of deciding when to go, how long to go, where to go. How did all that stuff factor in when you were making your decision to study abroad?
So, a lot of people at Penn State study spring semester of their junior year. The fall is really big for football at our school, so it's kind of like a no-brainer to go in the spring.
Yeah.
Deciding on Dublin was pretty easy for me, so it was just a matter of like putting all the pieces together of like when to go, who to go with. And what was great about going in the spring was that we had our winter break like leading up to it. So we had time to like prepare, pack, whatever, all of that to get ready for it.
Okay, so yeah, that is a no-brainer. And yeah, I hear Penn State is kind of okay at football. I don't know, they've got this small school. No.
Sometimes.
Okay, so then you decided to go to Dublin. What did you apply to any scholarships and grants? And then also, what kind of program did you use? So were you an exchange student? Did you do a third-party program? How did that work?
I did not apply for any scholarships, but I know a lot of people do, and I know it's very common. So like I would encourage that. I just didn't have my act together in time, I guess, to do that.
Yeah.
I think we studied with a third party program called IES Abroad, and I know they have locations like all over the world, basically.
No, they do, yeah. IES is huge. They're actually a nonprofit, too.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So we're great. So I picked their program as opposed to studying like at Trinity College or one of like University College of Dublin, something like that. I picked IES because I liked their Irish Studies program. And their courses ranged from everything from like Irish folklore to digital marketing. So it was still things that would count towards like my overall major of public relations. So that was like a good fit for me.
Oh, okay. So they had a wide selection of classes that you could take.
Definitely. Yeah. And when you got there, you like made your schedule and worked it out.
So who were the teachers that taught the classes? Were they Irish teachers or were they teachers from other schools that traveled and because I know teachers can kind of do study abroad. It's called faculty-led programming, but they can go on trips. So who were your professors?
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know everyone should do that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
We had all Irish professors.
Okay. All right.
I think I had 5 classes, and yeah, they were all Irish.
And what about the students? Were you just in there were you just like a normal student at the university, or was it all international students? How did that work?
It was actually all American kids.
Oh, okay.
So
See,
I had
everyone's
people-
different. So yeah, it's
I think
well,
because Dublin tends to be a little bit of like a smaller program.
yeah.
Yeah, we had kids from like University of Indiana, a couple of Southern schools, and I think like Puget Sound in Washington.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And there was maybe like 50 kids in the program altogether.
Okay, so yeah, so from all over the place.
Right, yeah.
And then tell me about your living situation. Did you have roommates? Were you with a host family? Apartment, dorm, how did that work?
I had an apartment. It was actually like an extended stay hotel, but it's not like sketchy like it sounds kind of. It was
No, 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 not at all. You're the first one I've
um,
heard that's done that.
yeah, it was good because we had like cleaning services come in and stuff because it was like a hotel. I went abroad with two of my friends and they ended up living together. Like, by the way, it worked out. So I lived with another girl from Penn State. It was just me and her, and we honestly had like the great time. We're still really close friends now just from this experience. And yeah, it was like an apartment. They had like a doorman, which was nice, like living in a strange city. And we were in like a nice part of Dublin, so it was good.
Okay. That is pretty cool. Living in a hotel, and yeah, the fact that you went with your friend too, and I'm sure you made a lot of other friends. I always tell people studying abroad it's almost kind of not nearly as bad, but as far as the camaraderie that comes with it and the experience with such a short amount of time, but with these people, it's almost like rushing a fraternity, a sorority. But you go through all these experiences and everything happens to you, and then you have that for the rest of your lives that you can kind of share. So I think that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
definitely. It's like a bond like you'll never
Yeah,
probably experience with anyone else.
no, definitely. And then now, before you left, did you have any fears or doubts? Was there anything that you were maybe nervous about living in a different country, not kind of being homesick, the safety, or were you just kind of like, all right, let's go, wheels up, I'm ready?
It did cross my mind that I would be homesick, but I also kind of talked myself down from it. I was like, if I let this little worry cripple me, I think I'm going to regret it forever. So I kind of just put it in the back of my brain and just kind of was like, all right, guess I'm going to do it. And off I went. And it was like great. I think psyching yourself out is probably the worst thing you can do because, like, in the grand scheme of life, 4 or 5 months away is not, it's not a big deal.
Well, also too, and then with technology where it is, like you get there and you land, and right when you're in the airport, you can FaceTime your mom and dad and say, "Hi, I made it okay. Don't worry." Whereas before, first it was writing a letter, and then it was phone, and then it was email. But still, like so, homesickness isn't what it once was. I don't think.
Right, right. And that's like, it's a terrible feeling, but you're right. With like technology now, it's so easy just to be connected.
Okay. Yeah. No. Definitely. I couldn't agree more. As we're sitting here having a conversation on Skype that's going to be recorded. Well, it used to be like I have to be in a professional like radio station or broadcast, but now we're just doing this. So, yeah, you're 100% right. And now tell me a little bit about so you were there for the spring semester.
Yes.
Okay, so how long in total were you there for?
I was there from January, I would say mid-January to the end of April.
Okay, so a good chunk of time. And
Hmm.
did you tell me maybe about, can you tell me some stories or maybe a story, a travel story? And also, I know a buzzword for people studying abroad is excursions or trips that you may have taken, but could you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Or like a funny story?
Yeah,
Sure.
no, yeah.
Right, right out of the gate, we flew from Newark, New Jersey to Birmingham, England, and we had a connecting flight there to go to Dublin. We missed our connecting flight, and this is like right at the beginning of our trip, and we're like, oh my God, is this an omen? Like, should we just go home?
Yeah.
And like, I somehow lost my luggage, and it was like this whole big thing. And we're like, oh my God,
Oh,
like maybe this really isn't like what we should be doing.
yeah.
I think having a little hiccup like that right out of the gate and like dealing with it accordingly and appropriately, like kind of soothed our worries because we're like, okay, if we can like at least get to the country, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. So if you can overcome this, everything else will be easy kind of thing,
Right.
right?
And like
Okay.
looking back, we're like, are you kidding? We couldn't even get where we're supposed to go in like a timely fashion. So we're
Yeah.
like, going to set the tone for the whole thing. But no, it was actually good. I'm trying to think what else, other funny stories.
No, it's funny.
Um,
Everyone has their when I ask this question, everyone's like, "Well, what do you mean by that? Is it supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to be epic? Is it supposed to be something?" So anything that you can happen that, and it's always stuff like that. Oh, we missed the bus, or I missed the flight, or they lost my luggage, and then I had to do this, and then I had to do that. And everyone's unique and it's different. So you're right on the money with the kind of story you should be telling. Just to let you know.
we spent Easter in Scotland, and it was so nice. And there was like 5 of us there, and we were out late at night at the bars and stuff. And 2 girls went back to our Airbnb and ended up locking us out. And they weren't waking up to our phone calls or texts. I'm like, oh my God, we're homeless on Easter in Scotland. We were like wandering the streets, like trying to find a hotel and stuff. But eventually they answered. But that was like hours of just wandering.
So they were just there passed out?
Yep.
Oh, no. And yeah,
No.
you probably couldn't hear the doorbell. And
Yep.
yeah, okay. All right. And then did you go, when you were out, did you go anywhere else in Europe when you were over there?
Yeah. So we did Prague, Scotland, as I said,
Yep.
London, went to Northern Ireland, which is obviously a separate country from Ireland, Lisbon, Portugal,
Okay.
Spain, Amsterdam.
So you
For
made
sure.
the rounds, the European rounds. Okay.
and
I love hearing whenever I talk to someone who studied abroad in Europe, I love hearing where they go because there's a finite of places, like you've got to leave some places off the list, and it's
Mhm.
just the grass is always greener on the other side. Like you're always regretting you wished you would have gone to here, but you got to go to the places you just said, Prague and London and everywhere. So I'm always just curious to hear the list of people's European travels.
Yeah, and there was not one place that we didn't love. Like everything was different from each country, but it was awesome. It was like
Yeah,
really good experiences.
perfect. And so now of all those places, and again, this is kind of funny too because you did Ireland, and one of the questions I ask everyone I have on the show is, tell me about the food. What's the food that you miss most? And Irish food is nothing. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's just there's nothing special or unique about it, or so I've heard. It's just kind of meat and potatoes. But from all your trips to Europe, what's one or your travels in Europe, like what's one thing that you missed that you tried that you really stuck out? And it could be something from Ireland. I could be completely wrong. I've never been there, so
No, you're pretty on the nose with that. It's a
okay, all
lot
right.
of food, but they did have really good fish and chips if you're into that. That
Yes, that's what I've heard. Yeah,
well. I'd have to say just the food in Italy in general. I mean, that's yeah,
yeah.
the wine, the food, the gelato, everything, pasta.
Okay, okay. So the Italian food, got it.
Uh,
And then what would you say? You said you graduated about a year ago. Is that right?
Yes, I graduated May of 2017.
Okay. So now I don't know if you still have any friends that are still in school, or maybe a little brother or sister or cousin or something like that. But if you
Mhm.
were to give advice to someone about studying abroad today and they were kind of on the fence about it and not really sure if it was the right decision for them, what advice would you give that person?
I would say to absolutely do it. Most people I know from school, like their biggest regret was not studying abroad. I think you have to rationalize it as like, when else in your life can you realistically travel for months on ends like this? Like, probably never. So, college is the time to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any experience as like eye opening and rewarding because you learn a lot about yourself and other cultures. And like, if you have the opportunity to make yourself more worldly, take it. Like, take it.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's. I mean, so now that you're saying that, I obviously studied abroad and I'm doing this podcast, and my biggest regret is that I didn't go twice. So yeah, I couldn't imagine not going once. So yeah.
Right.
Um, and then do you have any book recommendations or media recommendations, like apps or podcasts or websites that you'd uh, recommend to someone who's studying abroad? Maybe like a travel app or a book that you
Um,
took or something.
a book that I read prior was honestly Ireland for Dummies, and it was really helpful. So,
One
like,
of those like yellow books that they have everywhere. Okay.
yes, I recommend that for whatever country you're going to. And then the website that I blogged for a couple of summers ago is called College Tourist, and they have content covering everywhere you could imagine. Stories about like certain etiquette or like where to go out at night in different places. They cover it all. So I would say College Tourist is a huge one.
Okay. I got it. And then do you have a quote that you want to share with everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
My favorite quote is never take advice from someone you wouldn't want to trade places with.
Oh, I like that one. I've never heard that one before.
So, yes, if you really think about it, it rings really true. And it's just
Hmm.
always something good to keep in mind.
Okay. Perfect. Well, yeah, that is all I have. Do you have anything else you want to add?
If you can study abroad, do it. Like, I'm the biggest advocate, biggest fan for it. Do it. No other time in your life can you ever do it like
Sure.
this.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You guys, you can check out. I'll put a link to her blog on her post on Amanda's post, and yeah, we will talk to you again soon. Subscribe to the show, leave me a review, hook up on social media. That's where you can hear new episodes. If you're thinking about studying abroad, this is the place to be. Amanda, thank you very much for being here, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out all the really neat infographics on the rest of the posts as well as the interviews. There's a lot of good information. You should also download Studying Abroad 201. I really recommend it if you need kind of a fire lit under your ass for studying abroad and you need some motivation. It crafts my journey and exactly what I did. Also, we can email you new interviews, or you can connect with us on social media. All right, thanks a lot.